Welcome everyone to the Community Preservation Committee meeting. It's March 2nd, 2026, and we're glad to have our committee here ready to go. I had mentioned this last time before the meeting officially started, so I wanted to do it after the meeting started, that Andy Klepacki had resigned from the Finance Committee, so he's no longer on the CPC committee as well. And they're pretty tied up with things right now, so they'll figure out who the representatives by their August meeting. So we certainly will miss Andy. He was a great addition to the CPC. We have, Kayla had done up the February 9th minutes from our last meeting. Did everyone get a chance to take a look at those?
Trying to pull them up here.
And does someone want to make a motion to accept the minutes from
I
February?
move we accept the minutes from February 9th.
Second.
Mark will second. Any discussion? All right, Kayla, can you call the vote, please?
Yep, all those in favor. We'll do a roll call vote with Andy,
Aye.
Sharon,
Aye.
Risa,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Diane.
You're
She's
muted,
driving. She's muted, Diane. Sorry, she might not be able to unmute. She was not
Right.
here as well, so
Right. So I'll put absent or abstain.
yeah,
And then Mary?
yes.
Okay. So that'll be, how many are we?
5.
501.
Welcome, Brian. I see you're joined us. That's great.
I'm sorry about that. I was in favor. I had to figure out how to unmute.
No worries. Drive safely.
Sorry about that. I'm trying. Thank you. Sorry. I pulled over.
Oh, thank you. Well, we'll be voting on the Friends of Lake Warner application, but we'll probably have some discussion first, so you can.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No worries. So next we have discussing voting on the Friends of Lake Warner application. We're glad to have Becca and Brian with us today. Would somebody like to make a motion to vote to approve? That's our first step before we discuss. Andy Morris Friedman, second.
I'll second.
Risa. And Andy, I'm going to try to just say Andy. It's just sort of a habit with now that there's only one Andy.
We'll have to get another one.
So we had done a straw vote last time. There was an article in the Gazette that questioned some of the effects of some of the ingredients in the Foslock that Brian and Becca are planning on using. And Brian, thank you for a very detailed rebuttal to that with lots of links to scientific studies. But I want to give people in the committee here a chance to ask questions or ask for more details.
I'll just say I read everything and it was detailed with all those references. And it seems to me that there really isn't an acceptable alternative. Every alternative is not as good as this one. And that I can't remember the name of the component that the writer in that Gazette letter mentioned, but it looks like it's not interactive. It's contained in that bentonite clay matrix, so it should be okay. I would just say that we recommend this go to town meeting and it'll be on the warrant, and the townspeople will want to discuss it. Just be prepared, which I think you all are.
Mhm.
I mean, thoroughly prepared, because there's going to be questions, and but I'm in favor of this.
Thank you, Risa.
And that's lanthanum is the
Lanthanum.
product.
Lanthanum,
And
yeah.
it's 5% of the composition of the Foslock.
Yeah.
And thank you to my colleague Becca as well, who's here, who's done a lot of the research and
Yeah.
science behind our response.
Yeah. Good
Yes,
job. It was thorough.
I was just going to say that, very detailed.
Thank you. And we're trying to have that response published in the Gazette, so we can have a fair shake at, the letter was fairly strong and accusations of what could potentially happen. And after we really looked into it, it all seemed to be false.
Yeah.
Mark?
I was just going to ask if Brian or Becca could remind us and any public that are watching what the fate is of that. I mean, I understand that they chemically bond and that isolates it. Then does it just then sit at the bottom like sediment and it gets buried, so it's inert? Because I believe because you're not dredging it out. So it's just basically buried in place, but now it's not going to be interacting and helping further blooms. Is that correct?
Right. So the lanthanum binds with the phosphorus, and then the phosphorus is inactivated essentially, and the new compound is in the sediment of Lake Warner. Correct.
Thank you.
I wondered about Foslock itself, since it's not approved yet. Is this study that's going to be done, if Foslock doesn't get approved, could it be used for other purposes, or is it really dependent upon Foslock being approved?
So we would want to use Foslock instead of an alternative product. I am in touch with the folk. Can you hear me okay? It seems like I'm echoing. Sorry about that. Let me turn my volume down. So the way that products are approved in the state is that the Department of Agriculture has an approved list of products, and they're actually updating the process by which products are approved on the list to make it more efficient, and it hasn't been updated for about 20 years, and they're in the final phases of that update process, and it should be happening during 2026. The person who's responsible for that, it's a part of the DCR, because they're responsible for the lakes and ponds and what can go into them in the state. And she said it has to go through a public comment period. Then the rules will be established, and the first product to go through the new process once the rules are established is Foslock. Okay. So it will be approved this year based on the timeline that they have inside the state right now. So it seems to be moving in the right direction, and that we'll have this study done in 2026, and Foslock should be approved in 2026 for a mid. We wouldn't be using it until May of 2027. So it looks like we're on the right track.
Okay. Andy, did you have something?
Yeah. The concerns of the person who wrote the letter. Is there a way of determining whether what they fear is happening or not in the immediate future? Is there a way to set people's mind at ease that it's been so many months and look, it's not happening?
Well, it it can't happen. What she said is actually scientifically inaccurate, Andy. So it won't happen. It's not a matter of waiting, a matter of time. It's just scientifically incorrect that it's radioactive, if that's the main concern. Or the other concern being that the aquatic life can take up the lanthanum is also inaccurate because of the way that it's bound to the bentonite clay. Nothing that the person said would happen is possible to happen.
Okay.
So I don't think it's a matter of time. It's just a matter of understanding of how the product works.
Okay, so we don't have to check to see if it's happening because it's impossible.
Right. I mean, we can check and see if the phosphorus level is going down in the lake, and we'll continue to monitor that as part of our lake management plan, and we'll be able to validate that assumption that using Foslock will reduce the phosphorus. But that it's pretty well established that that's what it does as well.
And those water tests would show if there was any elevated lanthanum. Is that what it's called? Well, I don't know if we would be directly testing for lanthanum, or I would have to look into that, Mark, and get back to you. But it's not lanthanum in its purest form. It's a lanthanum that's been made into another compound bound with the bentonite, so it's a different type of lanthanum. Yeah.
We don't have to worry about any. Oops. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Becca could chime in here.
Oh, I was just gonna just reiterate what Brian had said, is that so we actually won't be using the Foslock until 2027, and the purpose of this study is to know exactly how much lanthanum to use when we put it in. So this study will help us be very conservative with the amount that is put into the water also.
Great, thank you.
Right. With the implication being that if we put just the right amount in, it will all bind with the phosphorus and none of it will be left behind.
And we won't have to worry about a creature from the Black Lagoon kind of situation.
No.
Well, that's a relief.
No, but to your point, Andy, it might be nice to do a water chemistry test in 2026 and one again in 2027 to show that the lanthanum levels are not what the accusations propose, just to show that the science is in fact true. It's not fake news.
Well, even more important, the accusation of is it radophane causing radioactivity. The studies that you showed and how it's used indicate clearly that that person is wrong.
And we will be putting all of this on our website as well, for the Friends of Lake Warner website. So, it will be publicly available, and we still have a couple months if this, is a public issue. Hopefully, our information can help inform the public about the actual facts.
So maybe Becca's the best person to ask if we just talked about testing in 2026, 2027. I think that's a great idea. But the lanthanum itself is in the bentonite clay matrix and then somehow in the sediment in the lake. Right? It's not in the water, isn't that what you'd be testing, or would you be testing the actual sediment in the lake?
So what happens is the lanthanum and the clay mixture is what is put into the lake, and as it falls throughout the water column, the lanthanum transforms into the rhabdophane. And then that is that's essentially just a sediment that is on the bottom, capping the rest of the sediments. So to test for that, I do believe that you would have to test the sediment. However, I'm not entirely certain the way that you would go about testing for radioactivity. However, I imagine that it probably involves equipment that we don't have access to as Friends of Lake Warner. And so if that was a component, we would need to figure out the way that we would even be able to do that, which would probably involve, getting involved with the university or something, but we would have to find someone to actually do that testing.
Yeah, I'm not even suggesting that be done, but just to be ready to address questions.
Mm-hmm.
Because this project is just money for the study about how much to apply.
Yeah.
So it's not really directly relevant to this project.
No.
And if, let's say, an excessive amount was put into the lake, which exceeded the amount of phosphorus that was there to bind to it, the lanthanum would be in the water column. But it also, am I correct, Becca, in saying that it basically becomes inactive after a certain amount of time when it's in the water column, when it's not bound to phosphorus?
I mean, it would transport out. And again, I kind of have to refer back to what you said of like, it's just scientifically inaccurate. Like it would be, since it's only 5% of the Foslock, even there's just not a way that we would, that much Foslock would be put into the water. And also, thankfully, we, our state has really strong environmental protections. And so, already this has been approved by DEP under our existing order of conditions. And then, like Brian said, it's going to go through, go to statewide approval. And so they would not, they just wouldn't let someone apply Foslock in the quantity that it would take to cause free lanthanum to be available in the water.
Right.
Also, aren't Friends of Lake Warner, most of the people in Friends of Lake Warner are property owners around the lake?
No.
No, not at all? Okay.
No. I don't believe any of them are. Or maybe one of them. One of them does.
Has property in the lake, in island on the lake.
Right.
Okay.
But in general, not abutters.
Well, are the abutters in favor of this, even if they're not involved with Friends of Lake Warner?
Well, I mean, the abutters were notified of our initial notice of intent when we did that last year. And the opposition was around herbicide use, not Foslock use. And
okay.
So we amended our order of conditions to use mechanical harvesting and hand pulling instead of a herbicide. So all the abutters have been informed of the Foslock, and no opposition was voiced around the use of Foslock.
Okay.
Anyone else have something you'd like to ask or share?
Well, I was just going to follow up on just to kind of close out one thing that Risa had mentioned was that I don't think any of us are asking for verification that it's not radioactive, because if I understand what I read, the only reason that rhabdothane or whatever it's called is in the same sentence with radioactivity is because it has the ability to lock radioactive chemicals and isolate them the same way that it's doing here. So it's not that it is radioactive, but it is used in that example as well as it would be used here, that it's kind of a neutral
Right.
party
Neutral.
That's
that
right.
Yeah.
It would
locks
be
down.
like saying that concrete is radioactive because concrete is used in containment of nuclear sites.
Yeah,
Right, right.
that's a good line. You should use
Yeah.
that.
But I would say that if it can get written into the the proposal or the study that we would be funding, that it would be, I think, good for PR if you did do a water chemistry test in 2026 as a baseline, and then again in 2027, 2028, just to be able to slam the naysayers and say, look, no, the science is right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see if any naysayers show up at town meeting.
They
The letter writer
will,
was not a
Andy.
Hadley resident, and
Oh,
We'll
I
see.
hope they do. It would be so lacking spice if we didn't have opposing views.
Yeah, but they can't speak at town meeting if the lady shows up from Northampton or whatever person shows up from Northampton. They can't speak at town meeting anyway.
Mm.
That
I
letter
can't see
was
some.
somebody in Northampton.
I can't see some confusion arising in the discussion. People who weren't aware about the herbicide decision and whether this is the same thing. And you said you were stopping, but now you're doing this. So just be prepared to answer those kinds of questions.
Maybe you should just print some of these up to be at the table for town meeting.
Mm.
This
That's a good idea.
one, the facts versus fiction thing that you put in here. Fear versus fact.
I would almost use the analogy that what the phosphate does is it acts as a phosphorus magnet, so it draws it and kills it or inactivates it.
Neutralizes it.
Right.
Okay. Well, it's great you're doing so much for Lake Warner and putting so much effort into it. And thank you again for all the detail and research you did to respond to that. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Yeah. Well, thanks for having us back.
Yeah.
Anyone
Sorry.
else have anything they'd like to add or ask before we vote? Kayla, would you like to do the roll call, please? And Diane, we're about to vote. If you
I am able to unmute. I got it now. Thank you. Sorry about that inconvenience.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Mark?
Done. I.
Oh, this is for we already made the motion, so this is for the motion to approve the
You're right.
Lake Warner
So
application.
I am voting in favor.
Diane?
I am voting in favor.
Andy?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Risa?
Yes.
And Mary?
Yes.
All right, so that's 6-0-0.
And the minutes was 6-0-0 too, because Diane did chime in. Well, thank you, Brian and Becca, both for educating us so much on this, and we certainly will recommend this, and it'll be on the town warrant, and we'll see you in May.
Thank you, Mary, and everyone else. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
And
Thank you very much.
And as Risa said, the onus will be on you to defend it at the town meeting.
Sure.
And to present it too. They'll probably call on me and I'll turn it over to you. So
We'll be there.
good.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank
Come see us again.
Okay. We will. Thanks. Bye.
All right.
As you say that, Andy, wasn't there something a few years back that we told them they couldn't keep coming back for? It was a maintenance thing.
Yes.
It was Board of Health doing their water testing.
Right.
Yeah. Do you want to see the warrant article for that? I can share the screen.
Yes. Yes, we do.
I sent it out, but it's good to. So to see if the town will vote to transfer $9,450 from the Community Preservation Act Open Space Fund to the Friends of Lake Warner to have a comprehensive phosphorus evaluation performed to develop a customized remediation plan for Lake Warner. Said funds are to be expended under the direction of the town administrator within 3 years of the date of town meeting approval, and any unspent funds will automatically be returned to the foregoing Community Preservation Act fund by that date. So it'll come out of the open space, and it has the 9450. And then we looked at the other articles for the open space last week, and we voted for how much we want for payroll and our expense account. We don't have to put the clawback amounts that we voted on last meeting in a warrant article, because the way they're worded, it's just needed to be a vote of the CPC. So the treasurer has already made those changes for the extra funds, that small amounts for projects left over. Any comment on that, or?
The warrant article doesn't even mention then that there's going to be Fosamax or any specific thing, because we're not paying for that. We're paying just to have the water tested.
Right.
So that's probably just as well. If anybody wants to start talking about it, well, it's not even in the article.
It's a plan to have it for a remediation plan. So it's not really testing the water. It is coming up with a customized plan.
Yeah.
This was the wording they had summarizing it. So you're right. The word FOSLOC isn't in there. And we could add using FOSLOC if you felt that was better to do.
No,
I think that's more of the agreement.
Yeah.
The next phase.
Okay. So I'll send that on over. The letter of, the letter of support for the Phelps Farm grant. Andy, thank you we were asked that Phelps Farm has another grant that they can apply to, and they are very good at getting grants, which is wonderful, because then it isn't all just looking to CPA funds to do these. So Andy, thank you for coming up with an article for that. And did everyone get a chance to read it through? And there's a few, what we want to do is just vote on it. There may be a few grammatical changes before it's in its final form, which we appreciate. Sherry is
I already sent it to you.
Good. Yep.
Yeah.
But it's mostly grammar, right? It isn't changing any of the
mostly commas.
commas, exactly. So we're not going to go through and say there's a comma on line 5, and so if we can go ahead and vote as a committee to in support of this, then we'll send this right over to with a few commas added or removed, whichever. We'll send it over to the Porter Phelps Huntington Foundation.
I will make that motion to send this letter of support.
I'll second.
Right. Great. Any other discussion?
We'll do a roll call vote then. Mark?
Don't I?
Diane?
Aye.
Andy?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Risa?
Yes.
And Mary?
Yes.
All right, 600.
And thank you again, Andy and Sharon. And so if you can, Andy, if you have the final form of the letter, you can send it over to Karen.
Okay.
Or that'd be great.
Did I send it to you too, Andy, or just to Mary?
I believe you did.
Okay, good.
I want to just the treasurer's report. Oh, let me find it again. Here it is. I wanted to just show you the treasurer's report. Adam couldn't be here tonight, but he actually spent a bit of time working on it, and I think made it made some wonderful improvements. Basically, he took the usual report and split it out over a couple pages. So when you look at it, you aren't looking at lines and lines and lines. So the funds, and this has been updated a little bit since our last meeting because we got updated sheets from the town accountant. But so the current figures are here that we've seen before, and then our potential set-asides and our potential project. So our final balances after the ATM 26, if those are approved at town meeting, are listed, and undesignated fund balance will be $1,532,600, with still some funds in each of the set-asides, and then the reserve for expenditures. So our
Mary,
total,
could you make this a little bigger?
I can. That's much better. Sorry.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Is that good? Okay.
Thank you. My eyes, thank you.
So right now our open space reserve has 9,073. There's none in the historic, and the housing is 208,339, and undesignated is 1,712,600. Each of the three reserves are going to go up by 60,000 if that's approved at town meeting, and then the 9450 would come out of open space. So here's our final balances. So we still have $1,000,009 available. $1,532,000 is not designated to any of these three categories. And then the projects. So he's put this on Google Docs. So in the future, I'll just be sending you the link and you can bookmark it, or I'll send it again, probably each meeting anyway. So you'll be able to go on and take a look at this. So the first tab at the bottom is the Hadley CPA fund summary. The next one is the revenue. That's still big, right?
Yes.
And we there, all those previous ones are still here. They're just hidden, so you can unhide them if you want to see years worth of data. But we just did a few years to Adam, he and I met during the week and just cut out everything. They're hidden. So if you really want to see, 10 years worth. But right now the surcharge from town is 178,000, which doesn't include the last 2 quarters of real estate taxes. And it usually is more than double at this point anyways, because some people are late payers too. So the state distribution won't change. And then the earnings on investment will be what it'll be. Last year it was really high. We'll see what it ends up. And this is also capital gains too. So it's not just interest. And then the third one is the expenditures, which you're all used to seeing too. And this is what's outstanding. They did hire an archivist since our last meeting that's already started in at the Historical Society. And the church steeple, they're paying bills this week or next that will wipe this out and dip into the 350,000 here. So that's all, a few changes since last time. And one thing Adam did, well, he's got historical information if you want, again, some of the stats and stuff. This README is an explanation that he'll be filling in. But what he also did is every time you see one of these little or yellow triangles, he's got an explanation as to what that is if you have more questions about it. So big thank you to Adam for all his work on this. And it's great to put it on Google Docs because everyone will be able to take a look when you want to see. We don't have a regular update schedule from the town accountant, but every time I ask her for the 3 reports that we use to fill this out, she gets it within a day. So it's very easy to do. And I'll ask again beginning of April so that the stats we use for our brochure at town meeting will be up to date. Mark?
Just to clarify, in the expenditures chart, I think it was the town column, there was a red note that said need to vote to claw back. That means within this committee, not at town
Correct.
meeting. Okay.
And we did vote to do that last meeting, and it's already been zeroed out.
Okay. Yeah.
But that's, yeah, that went through with the change of wording and how the warrant is written, it automatically goes back. So it's one less thing to tie up, to take time in town meeting for, which is great. And it's
Right.
usually small amounts. The fence is coming in very much under budget, but the fence looks gorgeous at the old Hadley Cemetery, and it's coming in way under budget. So by August, I think any bills will have been gone through, so we'll be able to double check with them and take that money back as well that's left over. Yeah,
Alan has been a great steward.
yes, yeah.
Here, here.
And we had him up the price because there were some real unknowns when he was here. So we had suggested it, be sure and, in case he couldn't get whatever, but he really likes the fence that went in. So that's great. Good. Okay. Andy, you're on for the next part of this. Ideas for the CPC procedures and projects.
Right. Thank you, Mary. It's too bad everybody is not here for this, but we'll make do with the people we've got. It's always good to think about how the committee is working and the procedures and ways to improve. So I was hoping that we could do that process now. And we could start by just going around and see if anybody has any questions about why the committee does one thing as opposed to another thing, or something that didn't make sense to you, or you just have questions about that some of the older members might be able to answer. So are there any questions about procedures or policy within the committee? This is going to be a short discussion.
Well, I have one thing I'll say. Just, looking on the Community Preservation Coalition site, a lot of towns just do this once a year. And then they, like 6 months ahead, they have a meeting that people that are interested have to do like a pre-approval. And the committee meets and says yes or no to that this even is a project to explore before they do a lot of work on an application. I'm not suggesting doing it once a year. I think too many people would be really sorry to wait a whole year. But that's one thing Andy has been wonderful working with people on their applications. Not everyone takes advantage of that, but he can help them understand, here's things that follow and here's things that don't, the CPA. But that's one thing some towns do, is have like a pre-approval, which I think helps the applicant as much as helps the committee. But it does mean one more meeting each time, because you have to, I don't think one or two people could represent the whole committee. So I think it really would be a committee meeting. So I don't know. I'm not suggesting it per se. I'm just throwing it out as something that has been, Stuart had suggested it at one point, and I see a lot of people do it, towns do it that way. It's interesting.
I could see having a pre-application meeting like a month or two before the applications are due, so that you save someone wasting their time, or you let them know, that gives them a couple months if there's something they need to gather first.
Right.
And I like the idea of a pre-approval meeting with applicants or potential applicants, because it'll help our committee members learn that process that now is kind of locked in with Andy and Mary. I just remember a sentence used, or a saying used, is that all great leaders prepare for their replacement. And I don't know enough to help someone through that, but it would be a good idea if the whole committee would learn how to help someone through that. It would help us learn all the rules about CPAs as well.
It's, I think 2 months might be a good or at least a month.
Yeah.
But I know so many times it's like last minute something, usually the deadline's February 1st. Usually I'm hearing from somebody February 3rd asking if they can possibly still put this in. And so I think if we do it, it wouldn't be an optional thing. I think it should be a requirement.
Yes.
And then that means that if they miss that month ahead of time meeting, they're waiting for the next one. Because I think you either do it or you don't do it.
Right.
Yep.
But it does also mean that if we had questions, it gives us more time. Because, that's why we stretch sort of to 3 weeks between the first and second meeting to at least have a little more time. And, I so appreciate that Scott Merzbach, he must watch our meetings. He used to call with a whole lot of questions. Now he just watches the meeting and writes up an article, but that really helps with transparency and helps let the town, people in the town and wider community know what we're talking about. And so that's helpful, but still, I think if we want to do it, I think we'd have to put it in the application. We'd have to, I'm not sure we have to have anyone's permission to do it.
No.
But I think we'd want to make it very clear. We could put it on the website page and choose a date, or like July 1st, which again is a hard, a hard time to have a meeting. Mark, go ahead.
I would just play devil's advocate, and you had said you thought it should be required or mandatory, and I would just say sometimes things come together quickly, and I would not want to exclude someone because they didn't make the pre-application meeting. So I would say maybe it's worded that it's strongly recommended to attend this meeting, but it's sometimes there are things that they don't know if they're even going to apply until another shoe drops. I don't know, just putting that out there.
Yeah, I'm with Mark on that.
But it still would, to do something, even if it's strongly recommended. I mean, we've turned down, I've only been on a short time, and we've turned down the sewer. Did we turn down the sewer one, or it got taken away? Mm-hmm. And the elevator one, I mean, and there have been several that have been turned down, and they had already done all the preparation. We did all the reading.
Yeah.
And that would have been saving everybody time if they had come to a preliminary meeting.
Yeah.
It also
I also wonder if it's, sorry. I wonder if it's worth having like a public outreach session just to, give an overview of what the CPA is, what qualifies for CPA and what doesn't. And it could be open to, boards and committees, staff members, the public, anybody who's interested. I think maybe like starting with education could be a good idea because a lot of people don't really know exactly what qualifies for CPA funding. So having something maybe at the senior center, in the evening, maybe we could get, it posted in the newspaper or posted wherever and draw people to like a public event where they can learn these things and, talk to the committee members, and we could post it as a meeting, but just have it advertised to the public. And I know that the CPA is, I guess, supposed to do like public hearings, but it could be more of like a lift to have, an event where we meet in person and then, distribute materials, answer questions and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think there are certainly cases when it would benefit prospective applicants. I think, and I may have my memory wrong, but I think there was a gentleman that had been told word of mouth that he should apply and asked us if we could help save his barn. And I think Andy had to say, well, is it going to be public use? That could have saved him time and effort. So.
Right.
Well, it was having to do the historical standards that he, it wasn't worth it. And there's been some others too that when they realized what they'd have to do, didn't want to go that route.
Right.
Kayla, I think that's a good idea. We did have a public hearing, and you advertised 2 weeks and And for the first 10 minutes, I think a year ago, September, and nobody came, but we had average. So I like the idea more of an information session. But it's, and I don't know when, again, it's another meeting, but I think the senior center library is a good idea for location. It's just hard to know when. It's either in the spring or summer if people were interested for the fall. The other thing we could do is this preliminary meeting could be kind of both. If we're going to do a preliminary meeting, it could be also, even if you have an idea or even if you're curious, this is the time to come and then we could answer questions.
It could be something that we do once a year.
Right.
And it's hybrid, so it's in person at the senior center, but it's recorded. So then we could put on the website, are you thinking about applying? Watch this. And in there, we could have examples. This works, this does not work. And that might be kind of like an FAQ video that would help people. They could find it at any time of year.
Yeah.
I like that.
I do too. It's not really hybrid because I think hybrid means it's in person plus Zoom at the same time.
Right.
But it's, I think that's a good idea. And, we spent so much time on our frequently asked questions on the website. We could almost just go through those and answer a whole lot of questions.
Oh.
No, so would we do it? I mean, obviously it's too late for annual town meeting, but would we try to do it before, applications are due in August, or would we wait until like after town meeting in the fall? And so, well, if we were going to do it a month early, February 1st, it would be around, again, January 1st. Is again not a great time, but we could. Or we could do it in the fall. Maybe in the fall is good. That give them November would give them a couple months before annual town meeting.
So
I think the summer could be good. Maybe, I don't know.
Just to clarify for a second. So we'd still have our double meetings twice a year.
Right.
To prepare for the town meetings. Plus this public outreach information meeting once a year.
Right. And
Well,
trying to suggest if they're interested in a CPA project in the next year, to come to this to get feedback on their particular project.
So then it doesn't have to be before a particular town meeting.
Right.
It can just be any time during the year.
Well, it has to be enough time before our February 1st or August 1st deadlines to help them apply.
Okay. And if you can't come to the meeting, can you still apply to the second cycle, or do you have to wait a whole year?
No, you can still apply, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll strongly recommend they contact you to help them with their application.
We'll give your home number, Andy.
Yeah.
Maybe instead of trying to do it so much time before town meeting, we do it between spring and fall town meeting at some point in time, so that they, far enough just after spring town meeting perhaps, but far enough ahead so they would still have time to do the August meeting, or even, April, May, people are not traveling or away, the weather is decent. That time of year might be a good time to do it as well, to have it out there for the fall town meeting.
May might be a good time right after the annual town meeting. It'll be fresh on people's mind. Maybe.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Because you're right. Midsummer, it's hard to even get our committee together.
Right.
But, and
I also think it would be beneficial, and Andy, you can tell us if this exists or not, but if there's, what's the organization that Stewart's with in Boston? It's like a coalition, right?
Coalition, yeah.
do they have a website with YouTubes? Like, could we link on our page and say, are you thinking about applying for CPA funds? Watch this, CPA 101 video. And that could get a lot of the FAQs out of the way. Like, oh yeah, no, I'm going to have to do this, or I don't fit in any of those categories, or.
Right. They do. The website is very comprehensive and has loads of information, but no videos.
Yeah.
We do link it
They did
too
like a
on
CPA
ours.
boot camp.
Yeah.
That's for
I don't know
really,
if there's a
yeah,
recording.
What's that, Kayla?
CPA boot camp, I think, is for newly formed town
Yeah.
committees.
And I watched it when I first started. It was very helpful.
Yeah.
But I think our FAQs cover a ton of stuff. I just don't think people tend to, they think, oh, the money's there, I'll just apply. And, I will say the ones, Andy, that you've helped people with are much more comprehensive. And so there's a lot less questions we have to ask, which is great.
Some people are concerned that we're the type of committee who wants to say no. And that
Really?
if they release their information to us beforehand, we'll be able to say no more easily or something.
That's interesting.
And those are the ones who don't want to show their proposals until the meeting. So I think a public meeting would help dispel that notion.
Yeah.
That early in the CPA committee's history, we said no to the select board because they had a very bad proposal. And we got the reputation of saying no to everybody. But people stopped coming. Because if we said no to the select board, they didn't stand a chance. And that's really lingered.
The other thing that's out there is that the word preservation makes everybody think it's historic preservation, and they don't realize that all of the things, other components that are possible for using CPA funding.
Space, yeah. Housing.
So I think this is a good idea.
Okay.
As long as it's not mandatory.
Right. So should we try to take a look at May? And if we don't choose a date now, it just,
Yeah.
blink and it's summer.
Can we maybe choose a few dates, because I'm not sure what the senior center's availability is, so it'd be good to have like a backup date if they're not, if they don't have availability on the one that we choose.
Absolutely.
And we'll get publicity for it at town meeting, say, as a follow-up.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
If it's right after town meeting.
Town meeting's the 7th. May 7th is the town meeting.
Okay.
And town election is the 19th. So we don't want to be at the senior center is very busy on that day.
Maybe May 14th, the week after town meeting. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's the only week, is that week of the 11th to the 15th,
Oh, why?
because the 25th is Memorial Day.
I'm not sure I'll be available on the 14th. I have 3 grandchildren's birthdays within a day or two of that. Me too.
Nice.
The
I
30th
see.
be too late if we do after Memorial Day?
Or the 21st is a Thursday. That's 2 nights after the town election. But,
I'm looking at the
The
wrong
20,
one.
yeah, the 21st is before Memorial Day.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, or Monday night seems to work well for this group.
It's a movie I want to see.
May 11th is a Monday.
Oh, 11th. That'd be okay.
But
I'll go for the 11th.
Preference for the 11th or the Monday the 11th or Thursday the 21st, and maybe we leave it at both and see what the senior center. Kayla, can you check with them? And I don't know what's involved. I can't imagine many people would come just because we haven't gotten, it's hard to know how many people might watch our repeat meetings, but
If we had food, people would come.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make a motion that we have it because we need one because we're not going to have a meeting before that. So we need to have a motion to actually say that we're going to have one then.
Yeah.
Well, we don't really need a motion. Mary can just call it
Okay.
as the chair.
but I think it'll be, for information session and also for anyone considering applying.
Yeah.
Just
How to
like a
get to
workshop we
yes.
could do. Mhm.
How to get to yes.
There you go.
or at least find out early that it's a no.
Mm.
Information session. No, that's a great idea. This session and if interested in applying. And Kayla, I can work with you on how to advertise that too. Because Jennifer has sent out notices when applications are coming due to the boards and committees and town officials, as well as Jessica's posted it on the town website and media. You can ask for that and with Alex.
Yeah, definitely.
And we can put together like a group of 2 or 3 of us to come up with the program.
Okay.
For the
meeting.
meeting.
Which 2 or 3 would like to do that?
Well, I'll do it.
I recommend Andy Morris and Andy Friedman.
Would anyone else like to work with Andy on that?
It won't be that much work. Just to meet once or twice and decide what we want to talk about and in what order.
So maybe if no one else wants to step up with it, maybe you and I and Kayla can connect.
I nominate Adam.
Okay. That's not really fulfilling the the next generation.
That's true.
The new people, if you and I do it.
That's true. That would be good
But if no one else is volunteering, then we'll do it.
Well, the 250th celebration is coming up, and between Historic Commission and Historical Society, we're trying to work on stuff for the 250th. So I don't want to throw that plus another thing in there.
Everybody's on 2 committee besides this one, except for the at-large people. So
it also could be good for the first time if you and Mary develop a PowerPoint that can be adapted later. It's kind of like a template or a framework for people to, if it's successful and the CPA wants to do more events in the future, right, they can kind of just have the materials already.
Great.
Anything else the CPA committee isn't doing that you'd like to see us do? I mean, I have some ideas, but let you go first.
Let's hear your ideas, Andy. We're sitting down.
Well, I've sort of been hinting at this, is that I'd like to have more proposals generated by the committee. Not just, APRs and that kind of stuff. What's happening within the purviews of your groups, and you've got to need money to do it. So there's no conflict of interest issues. The committee, the law is set up so the committee generates the ideas. Although many towns do what we do, which is, requests for proposals. But both are possible, under the way the law is written.
At our last historical commission meeting, it came up that we don't have any visible, except for the sign, the banners that get put up at Memorial Day. We have no visible plaques memorializing the soldiers that have come from Hadley from the Revolutionary War on. Apparently, there's a plaque in the upstairs of the library, but it can't be taken down. It's there permanently, and it's not visible to everybody. If there's, I came through East Hampton today, and they have that big memorial thing on where it V's, where you come into the center of East Hampton, and I happen to know that my hometown just put one up because my dad's name went on it. So there's nothing like that to recognize the people who have served this community. I think that brings people together. To be honest, I'm a pacifist, so I don't believe in war, period. But I do believe in heroes that need to be recognized.
Maybe a nice idea there would be to professionally photograph it in high definition, and then have it on a screen digitally in the library where you can zoom in and read the things and zoom out. And I'm just tossing out an idea.
It's impressive. I think it's just one war.
No, I've seen it. It's gorgeous.
World War I, maybe. But
no, they said the Revolutionary War was there as well because I asked. But I've never been on the second floor of the library.
It's Goodwin. It's the old Goodwin.
I meant Goodwin, right.
It is very impressive.
Well, that's what Alan Weinberg said, but only if you get a chance to see it.
A good CPA project would be to see if there's public support for such a memorial and where it might be.
Mm-hmm.
So think about that.
I also want to preserve that the Women's Christian Temperance Union fountain, not as a fountain, but that stone is going to get hit by a car or something one of these days. And to have it sitting there in front of Town Hall, it just needs to at least get moved and set up with a better base kind of thing. The WCTU, which used to be the fountain.
Yeah.
Well, that's certainly a good project.
I'd love it to be a real fountain.
I wouldn't mind that, but I just, whenever I go by it, I think somebody's going to hit this someday and it's going to be gone.
And Goodwin itself needs so much work.
Yeah.
And that needs somebody in Town Hall willing to take it on, or
maybe when the fiscal crisis passes, Town Hall will be more willing to do stuff. But I think these are great ideas, and the town will be interested in them. So if you have an idea, just bring it up.
I was asked if, a thought of trying to work on Russell School again, trying to stabilize it. And, I think projects like that and Goodwin need the select board buy-in. They need the town kind of giving the green light to go ahead with it. But those are both wonderful buildings. We have even though it looks like a lot of money, $1.9 million, it can be used up, on either one of those buildings, and they may need 3 times that amount. We can't even bond too much, a couple million is the most we could bond. So it's trying to get grants or other solutions goes along with some of those bigger projects. But we have some great historical buildings, and Sharon, I've mentioned it'd be great to have a curator do in the Farm Museum what the Historical Society is doing at some point, but again, you need people that are directly involved with it. Kayla, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, one thing that comes to mind for a project idea is updating the open space and recreation plan, which it was last done in, I think, 2013. And it having an up-to-date open space and recreation plan. It's supposed to be updated, I believe, either every 5 or 10 years. Either way, it's out of date. and it kind of opens up opportunities for grant funding for the town. And I looked at the coalition database, and it seems like a lot of other towns have used CPA funds for the open space and recreation plan update. So that's something that I think PVPC works with a lot of towns with. Worth looking into, maybe.
Diane, do you have any comments on that?
On that particular idea?
Diane, yeah, because she's
Oh.
on the
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
yeah. She's
I
on the
have to
park
tell
and-
you that I was just parking and I did not hear that last little clip part. I heard my name though. I apologize. I apologize.
Kayla, do you want to repeat?
Yeah, sure. So the open space and recreation plan was last updated in 2013. So it's out of date, and I was suggesting that open space and recreation funds from CPA could be applied to this project. I think last time it was updated, the Conservation Commission handled most of it. They got like a consultant to do it, and they work with the consultant to do land inventory and all those sorts of things. So I'm not sure how much the Parks and Recreation Commission or committee was involved in that process, but I know that. Go ahead.
That's a long time since we've done it, so I would say it would make sense to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to reevaluate.
I guess the first question is whether it's conservation or whether it's park and rec. You said it's open space and recreation, so it seems like we want.
I think a lot of towns, either the planning board or the conservation commission handles the updates. Okay. I think a lot of it is mostly about like land management sort of thing. So historically, like at least from what I've seen in my office files, it's been the conservation department. Janice Stone did a lot of the work for updating the open space and recreation plan.
That was a while ago.
Okay. I can actually check with like Andy Klepacki, see if he remembers back then, like when it was done, how it was initiated or who took the lead on that. And see, but yeah, I don't see why we wouldn't want to.
And part of it to do an application with the CPA would be an estimate of costs. So that would be one of those committees working with the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission to get an estimate of what the expenses would be. Because I think it would just be pretty much their fees, right? That would be needed maybe. Well, that's a great idea, Kayla. Thank you.
Yeah.
And we just updated
Absolutely,
our plan.
thank you.
There may be some other other plans.
One of the things that I would like to find a way to do is to use more of the housing money.
Mm-hmm.
Hadley is not alone in having a lot of trouble using that money for its intended purpose. There's a lot of pushback from both sides, from the progressive side and the conservative side, about housing money, and the ways we've tried to use it in the past hasn't been used. You know, we put $100,000 in the housing trust, and as far as I know, it's all still there. There are some moves in the state legislature to force towns to use that money. They're probably not going to go anywhere, but strange formulas where if you don't do X by Y, then Z happens to you, and you know, all that stuff. But it doesn't have to be some grand big program either. You know, it can be temporary payments to tenants. You know, it can be payments to landlords to keep a certain percentage of rentals at a lower rate. There just needs to be the will to make it happen. And I don't have it. But so if you know of anybody who's interested in these issues,
Andy, I'm interested in that, but I'm waiting to bring it up on the planning board, and I did start a conversation with, we recently approved the senior housing on the west side of town. And they are proposing 7 affordable units out of the 50 senior housing. And I brought up at the meeting if we could use our affordable housing trust to incentivize them to bump from 7 up to 10 units. Then if they go to 10 units, that's 20% of their development, and the state then lets us count every unit, all 50, as affordable if a complex has. That would help us keep our SHI up so that, I think that would be supported by, I can't imagine who would not support that because Doc Zagranic is always saying we don't want, unwanted development. And one way to avoid that is to keep our affordable housing stock over 10%. And we're at 12 something, and there's some that are going to sunset. So I think that's going to be a good topic, but I'm not ready to pull the trigger and bring it out. But yeah, just so you don't think that there's no thoughts, that is baking, and as we said at that meeting, I've never done it before. And the developer said they've never done it before. And none of my colleagues on the planning board. So we're kind of at ground zero and figuring out how to put a value on incentivizing them to add 3 more units. But there's an example that a manageable dollar investment would tangibly help the town. Not just the SHI, but if you or I, the kids grow up and leave, and we want to downsize and stay in town. I don't know if you've looked at real estate prices, but you're kind of priced out of staying in town. And so when we say affordable units, it's not. We're not looking at. I think there was that comment that one of the select board made a few years ago about associating affordable housing with crime and crap. Well, no. Do you think your grandmother's crime and crap, but she wants to stay in town? So having the rent be more affordable, So yeah, I think there's a strong argument for that, and I don't know where the money is gonna, where the numbers are gonna fall, but I certainly see this as one possible source if we get to the point that would work. So if that assures you.
Yeah, no, I think that's good.
That's a good idea.
Thank you for that work.
Yeah.
I asked,
oh, I'm sorry, Mary, go ahead.
just to continue on the affordable housing, I'm looking at our plan, our that had a list of all the SHI listed housing, and one of them, the Mountain View Apartments on Campus Plaza Road, has 25 units, and we had that it expires in 2024. And I asked Bill Dwyer about that, and he said it doesn't expire. That's pretty much in place. It's not going to.
Oh, that one's in perpetuity. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So, but there is one, Winfield Valley Estates on Route 9 shows through 2032. But there are 41 units of group homes that seem like they could, come and go. So, depending on the needs and stuff that are not in perpetuity. So I think that's a really good idea too.
And there's another senior housing being developed by Barry up on the Bab Farm.
Right.
And he hasn't come back with the next design stage on that, but he did say that unlike the East Street Commons, where he took advantage of our payment in lieu of building he said he will build the affordable units there. So,
Oh, good.
so that's promising also as we talk about the SHI.
But also every home that's built in Hadley increases the housing stock. So 12% today doesn't mean you'll be 12% in a year or 5 years or 10 years.
Right.
So that's, it is good to be proactive on that.
Well, if we keep buying APR rights, we'll cut down on large developments that take away our ag land.
And I love APR rights. It's hopefully people that qualify for that as a possibility will continue to choose that path. It's a very slow process. And there is a meeting on the 9th. The MDAR, Massachusetts Department of Agricultural Resources, is having a talk at the Senior Center Monday the 9th between 1 and 3. And it's a virtual session. No, it's not. It's in person. But it's a kind of they call it a listening session. They're there to answer questions about the APR and it's for people that already have it. I think that's why I got the application or the flyer. It's also for people interested in it. And they say every 3 years they host listening sessions. So if anyone's interested, that's coming up next Monday.
A project I've been thinking about that I did some research on are the windows in Town Hall. And I did some extensive research looking for a contractor to repair and restore the historic windows. And it's not possible. Three of the 5 retired. One said they would do it, but only if they brought all the windows to their workshop and they would be covered over with plywood until they were all finished. And one said, "Are you crazy? Just get new windows." And that's what a lot of towns are doing with their CPA money, because it preserves the use of the offices. So I think we should try to do it.
There was a 40,000 set aside to do a study for the exterior of Town Hall to try to figure out how to do the windows and how to do the siding repair and stuff like that. And it hasn't gone forward. And the town just has said, they're too busy with the budget crisis, which is understandable. But I will say, I talked to Kayla a few times this winter, and she and every other office has plug-in heaters to try to keep warm in Town Hall, and that's pretty hard.
So anyway, I might look into that in the future.
Okay.
Once things, I don't know, go back to normal. Is that too much to wish for? And then my big dream, my giant CPA dream, is to have ground-based heat pumps for Hopkins Academy and Town Hall and whatever happens to Russell School, unless it's, it falls apart. And apparently you can use CPA money for that. Because they did it for some historic, I forget where. But anyway, at least to do a study to see if it's possible. But I think it's going to be too slow because they're going to just put a new furnace in at Hopkins, I think.
Could we help pay for them to put solar on their roof to help their...
Well,
I wonder if Hopkins would be considered historic, isn't it, in the 60s?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was.
Where does history start? That's a good question.
I think the general rule is 100 years, but
But Windows, I'm gonna look into that.
Yeah. But Town Hall's historic.
Yeah.
But that won't fix the heating problem. The window, just putting back the same windows that are there. I mean, repairing the woodwork around them would help some, but the windows don't have the
No,
cold resistance.
Yeah, restoring the windows, it's not feasible. It's not financially prudent. No one is willing to do the work, and it's just not going to happen.
Our church windows got taken out one by one, brought to a workshop, and redone, reglazed, etc. One by one by one.
Right.
By a volunteer. By a wonderful volunteer.
Yeah, well, by a couple of the people on the properties committee, not just one, but yeah.
I wonder if they changed them from single pane to insulated.
Nope.
Well, good luck finding volunteers to do that now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The volunteer days are over.
Well, the church is they just finished. That just got done.
Yeah, amazing.
But that's, a different,
Well, I want to thank everybody for the discussion. I think we came up with some good ideas, and I hope that it's not just a discussion, but that you really move forward on some of these ideas and when we make it happen. Because it's going to be pretty tough times for Hadley in the coming years, let me tell you. And the CPA is going to be one of the bright spots that's going to keep moving things forward, and value added as opposed to what can we save, as we're throwing things overboard to keep the town afloat, financially. So.
Good. Well, thank you, Andy, for that. There is an open meeting training. You all got the notice on for the 5th on this Thursday at 6 p.m. at the Senior Center. So if you're available to go to that, there's I've got the flyer here.
And I have a small coalition update before we end, which is I got the unofficial notice that I'm being kicked off the steering committee.
Okay.
It's changing from a steering committee to a board of directors for the coalition. And so they're cutting down the members from 21 to 12.
And you're outside the 495.
So somebody's got to go. I tried to make the pitch that I was the only Western Mass person on the committee, and they went, yeah, you're right. See you later.
Like there's no history out here,
Yeah, so that's going to be the deal with that. So I'm not going to have a lot of inside information like I've been having recently.
No more inside trading. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for doing it for the last few years, Andy. That was great to have you there. Just one more thing on Thursday's night's meeting. It is presented by the town's attorney, Lisa Mead. So she's doing that. I unfortunately have a conflict. I cannot go.
I do too now.
Yeah, but just want to make sure people. And we had a nice invitation from Alan Weinberg. He said he'd be glad to have us stop by and see the Goff Bible in the new case. So, he didn't give me any dates yet, but I'll ask him just to give me a date.
That's in the library?
It'll be at the
Senior
Society building
on
Middle Street. Yeah, and I've seen the case without the Bible in it, and it's great. I mean, it looks very professional, and the idea is that it won't be in there all the time at the Society building, but if they do display it, for example, at the library or somewhere else, they have a case to put it in. So I'll get back to you on that when he suggests the time. All right, our next meeting dates. Well, now we have May either the 11th. I wrote it down.
21st.
21st. Thank you. It's over in here. But after that, it'll be, we decided August 24th and then September 14th. And we'll post this right on the town website within the next few days. So if you forget, you can just go onto the CPC page on the town website and get reminded that way. Does anyone have anything else? No? All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Great.
Second, third.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye.